Hey, how's it going? It's Richard Quo, and this week I want to talk about what I've learned in the past, let's say about a year and a half of taking care of my dad who has had dementia, aka short-term memory, aka poor reasoning and judgment, and does a bunch of silly things like wear wrong colored socks and doesn't shut off lights or water or overeats slash constantly being annoying. All right, let's get going. So first of all, this video is for people who are caregivers or have been caregivers in the past, and two, I would say people who allow or have allowed up till this point people to control their lives in a way. Maybe a parent or a friend. People who are being emotionally sucked dry. So the first lesson that I wrote down here is you get to take care of yourself. And what I realize is that in a way, we only have one life. And sometimes there are these energy vampires around us in our environment that really suck away all our energy. And, we want to care for them. We want to do our best. And sometimes we feel guilty. And either by them making us feel guilty, or we just feel guilty naturally because that's how we were raised if we don't take care or do something for someone else. What I realize is sometimes we just got to trust our gut feeling and be like, hey, this is no, just no. But sometimes we're putting into these weird positions where we don't really have a choice. I'll explain my situation. So let's see. I have older brother, older sister. I'm the youngest, and of the three, after my dad's brain accident, he had like a stroke or something similar to it. I happened to be living at home because I don't know, I just chose to. And let's see, brother is working at Target, store manager or store team leader. Sister runs her own IT recruiting company out in Utah, has a family, so that they're both out of the house, far away. And I, being the speaker slash YouTuber person, my schedule is flexible, so I ended up defaulting to being the one kind of taking care of my dad. Where's my mom in the picture? Well, her and my dad don't really get along very well, so that really stresses the heck out of her to the point where she was very depressed and close borderline suicidal. So that's, anyway, long story short, that's how I became the caregiver of my dad. So one thing I realized is that we only have one life. And, one thing my dad always guilt trips me about is like, Reacher, I don't know how much longer I have to live. I only have one life. You only have one father. You need to take care of me. And I would feel super guilty. I'm just like, okay, I only have one life too, but I can't say that to him because like, oh, Reacher, you don't care about me, things like that. So he's my dad's very emotionally manipulative. Like that's one thing that I didn't realize until more recently, just in general. That's another thing I learned. Okay, so second thing that I learned is that if you're not taking care of your needs, you will be pissed off, frustrated, and let it out on the ones that you love. So in this case, I let it out on my dad, because it's overwhelming taking care of someone when you don't have any training and stuff like that. Like, I'm freaking 27, almost 28 now. And like, I just wasn't ready for this. This was just like, boom, here we go. Surprise. So yeah, like what I realized is like, I know sometimes it's tough, and I don't know if you're a caregiver, and if you're not, sometimes you can relate with this as well. But sometimes it's hard for us to take care of our needs because other people need stuff, like this is like maybe life or death, or like they're just going through a really tough time and you want to support them. And I realize like sometimes we can't, given the situation, it's like we can only take care of ourselves so much, but we still need to take care of the other person. And I was kind of, it's like a management of whatever limited resources that we have called energy. So that, yeah. And I would encourage you, sometimes it feels like, like we can't take care of ourselves because we have to take care of someone else. I would test a little bit, push the button a little bit, and try to give yourself a little bit more space and more of that energy for yourself. Because I realize, the people who are crying for help, at least my dad in this situation, probably didn't need as much attention as I actually was giving to him. And I kept giving him more attention because I felt really bad and I felt like I wasn't giving him enough attention. Anyway, that's a long story. Next thing this is a really big lesson I just picked up very, very recently. And that is your environment really does affect your life so much. And when I say this, like, so again, I'm 27, almost 28. And for me, I feel like I've kind of dropped everything in my life, my passion, my YouTube, my speaking, this, like, me going on this little hustle of, like, inspiring people and sharing my story and blah, blah, blah. That's why I stopped making YouTube videos consistently, because I just felt like I lost my passion. So our environment, I guess the big thing I'm learning here is, this goes along with taking care of ourselves, but sometimes we get placed into this environment that's kind of toxic, this environment that's kind of negative or holding us back. And sometimes we need to find a way, create a plan of getting out of that negative environment that's not supporting our vision, our goal, or our happiness. I guess there's kind of two options. One is you can kind of change or quote unquote escape your environment. Or number two, of course, you could change the mindset around it. But honestly, I feel like that sometimes that's really, really difficult to change that mindset until you get out of your environment. Because yeah, like just get out of your environment. Seriously, like that's like what it comes down to for me. Because when you get stuck in an environment, it's like you can't change your mindset because you're stuck in the environment. So that's kind of my 2 cents. All right. Let's see. If you don't take care of yourself, you lose your passion and your love of life. Yes, I kind of already hinted at this. What I realized is because I wasn't taking care of myself and I was taking care of my dad and, or trying my best to, I just lost my passion and I lost like my purpose of life. I've had suicidal thoughts in the past few months, not like serious, but like they were very, they call them like suicidal fantasies. Like I was just so miserable that I was just fantasizing about suicide because that would be easier than handling all the crap that's going on. Anyway, that's really dark, but hey, look, I'm talking about this because it's real, not going to commit suicide. We're good on that. If you do, contact suicide hotline, if you have those thoughts or, seriously consider that. Oh goodness, it's getting deep. Okay. Let's see. Trust your gut instinct. That's another thing that I've learned. Trust your gut instinct. Sometimes we don't have all the answers, and sometimes the best way to get through a situation is you just trust your gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. If someone says, "Hey, can you do this for me?" You're like, "Hey, look, I would want to, but I just feel like I need to take care of myself," or whatever it is. Trust your gut instinct. And then a lot of times people might get mad at us or stuff like that, and and you might argue back with them, whatever it is. Just know that, like, trust your gut. It'll guide you towards the right direction. That's what I've learned a lot. By the way, this is another good point. So one thing that's really challenging for caregivers and just family members in general is, like, at what point, if your parents have not decided, are they ever going to go into a nursing home or stuff like that? The question is, how do you know when to put your dad or loved one in a nursing facility or a senior home? Like, that's a really tough conversation. And I didn't think I would ever want to do that because my dad is, like, traumatized by that stuff. But finally just recently we hit that point where, like, okay, it's time. You just feel it. That's it. So that's what I got there. Because there was a lot of suicidal thoughts going on in multiple family members and just depression and this crazy stuff. So it's time. All right. Know that all storms will pass. I can't guarantee it, but for the most part, what I've seen in my life is that every single hardship that we have, even though it doesn't feel like it could ever be overcome, it can be overcome, and it will be, just with time. Even if we're getting those really, really dark moments where, like, oh man, I don't want to live anymore, So that's what I got there. Let's see. Another thing I learned is there's so much I don't know about life. Just there's too many things that I just don't know. That I'm going to leave it at that one. Let's see. You're not alone, even when you feel like it. And sometimes sometimes you want to be alone. So, what I realize is there's a ton of people going through the same challenge that I am, as a caregiver, It's hard to find people who are, 27-year-olds taking care of someone with dementia. But I find people can relate, and a lot of people do. So people are going through what you're going through. Just know that. And there are people out there. If you open it up and start talking about it, you'll find those people. Let's see. And I guess the last thing that I wrote down is these are some things that were kind of forced on me as a caregiver to learn. Number one is patience. Like you just gotta learn how to be patient. Like I don't even think, I didn't make a conscious effort to be patient. Of course I did. But it's like, it's subconscious. I'm just probably more patient. I don't even recognize it. Number two is I have learned a lot about medical and medical procedures and how the whole insurance system works. And number three, I've learned a lot about parenting. Like, I have learned how to be a father, straight up, because taking care of someone with dementia is very much like taking care of a kid. And I realized that I don't want to have kids ever. I'm just kidding. We'll see. But seriously, I don't want kids right now. It's like too much work. Okay, so anyway, that's what I have. Hopefully that was a cool little insight of what I've learned with taking care of my dad with dementia. And I guess I got 2 more video ideas on my mind right now, which is crazy because I haven't been uploading a lot. Let's see. You'll love the next video. The next video will be why my dad called the cops on me. That'll be a fun one. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. And again, as always, I will try my best to record as frequently as possible, given my mood swings and stuff like that. Thanks for following me on this journey. And by the way, thank you so much for, commenting on my videos and really supporting me through these challenging times. And that's pretty much it. All right. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week. See you next week.